Hey y'all. Thank you for joining the live. I sent you the invite, Shaquana. Oh, thank you, Mycon. Y'all, Mycon got some new sunglasses out. I just seen them. They fire. Go check him out. Hey, Shaquana, I see you, but I don't see you gotta accept it. Let's see.
Oh,
Okay.
there we
Hi.
go.
There she go. You look so cute.
Thank
How
you.
you
You
doing?
as well.
Thank you. So, just giving a little bit of time. Some people already on. And we appreciate y'all because domestic violence is real. And this is the awareness month. So, Shaquana got an amazing story. And she's doing amazing now. We talked back in, hey, Bree. We talked probably last year, like during the holidays time.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's almost been about a year now.
Yep, we working on a project. Y'all know how I am with projects. Working on a project, and then I met her in New York. She's from New York. Tell them a little bit. Just tell them where you from, what you do now, while people get on. Uh oh, Shaquana, you froze. You were frozen for a minute. Was
Yeah.
I frozen?
I don't know what happened.
Okay, tell us where you from.
Yeah. So my name is Shaquana. I am from Brooklyn, New York. Born and raised out here. Just to tell you a little bit about myself, I am currently in the medical field. I am a mother of four, and pretty much I'm just trying to, being that I'm a writer, I'm just trying to get my things out there as well as my story. So that's pretty much it right now.
All right, so we're gonna get into it because y'all know I like to start on time. So y'all have to catch up. All right, so domestic violence or domestic violence abuse is also known as intimate partner abuse. So by definition, let's say what domestic violence is. It's a pattern of behavior in any relationship that is used to gain or maintain power and control over an intimate partner, such as coercion, threats, degrading, and violent behavior, including sexual violence. So I wanted to, yeah, I'm very pumped. Sean, that's my life coach. He the one got me to doing all my projects I do. So I looked up some statistics just so we know what we're dealing with and how common this is. One in four women and one in seven men will experience physical violence by their intimate partner at some point. With Black women specifically, according to the Black Women's Health Project, February 2023, domestic violence is the number one health issue facing Black women. So Black women are three times more likely to die as a result of intimate partner abuse. So like that was alarming in itself when I just read that, according to that Black Women's Health Project. So Shaquana, I'm gonna let you start your story. Like, so give me an overview on your domestic violence um experience and how it changed your life. And not how it changed your life, what it was, and then we'll get into how it changed your life.
So domestic violence for me and my situation, it started verbal. It ended up being mental and verbal, and then it went to physical abuse. So to sum up my situation, I was dating a guy that was 20 years older than me. At the time I was 27, he was 47, and it seemed like everything was okay because I had recently had left a relationship that it wasn't physical, but it was verbal. So I left out that relationship, and he was somewhat like comfort, and dating him like the first year or so was okay, but then eventually down the line, I noticed that he had a temper problem. With the temper problem, it became name calling, trying to keep me away from family members. And I noticed when I was trying to better myself, like going back to school because I had children young at 17, I was trying to better myself, and he was always upset with me with, why are you going to school? Why are you working this job? Why are you doing that? It was just always like he always wanted power over me. So what ended the situation is I ended up in the shelter. I pretty much, tried to move all the way to Far Rockaway. If anyone's from New York, go ahead.
Before we get to that part, I want you to tell me about the first the first time it got physical, like what that was like.
So the first incident where I got physical was so I have a dietary law. Like I go by the Old Testament. A lot of people might not really know, but I follow the Torah, and pretty much with that dietary law, like I don't really eat seafood or things of that nature. So I remember this particular time that he asked me to prepare crabs for him. I don't eat crabs, so I don't know how to make it. And I noticed while he was asking me to make these things, I'm like, I'm not doing it. So I heard him like saying like smart things to me, so I replied back like, like the fuck, if I don't know how to make something, why are you trying to force me to make something I don't know how to make and I don't eat it? Like I don't want to put it in my pots. And one thing led to another to where like he slapped me, and when he slapped me, honestly, like it took a while for it to register what occurred, because it's from one thing, we had a debate about, food, which is something, foolish to
Mm-hmm.
me, and then you put your hand on me.
Right.
So being that never occurred before, I didn't really know how to handle it.
And we're gonna stop it there for just a second before we keep with the story. But I just wanted to make sure people know, like, it's always verbal first. Like before they actually put their hands on you, they have to get in your mind. And it's like, as long as you let that go, they know, oh, well, I done disrespected her. I done said whatever. I'm going to take it a step further. Like in my situation, it never actually got to the physical. But everything up to it, the name calling, getting mad at dumb shit, like, I remember for me, I was already in the healthcare field. It was more so when I would be doing my shows. As my Marie Antoinette brand was building, he was getting crazy. Like it was too much. And it's like, I don't know if they dealing with their own insecurity or whatever the situation may be. Those are those signs. When you see that, you need to be making an exit, because just as sure as the sky is blue, the physical is coming. And so, and that to me, that's not even the worst part. It's terrible, but what is done on your mental, you know, that stays with you for a very long time. So we talked about that, the verbal part. So then I want to talk about after the first hit, and then however many was in between the big hit. What made you stay? Like how did it even get as far as it did?
So honestly, you know how a lot of people would say, if I was in that situation, I'll handle things differently, or I'll do this, I'll do that. For one, I was one of those people until I was actually in the situation.
Right.
What made me stay was, one was fear and one was embarrassment.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to elaborate on the both. The fear was, I came from a two-parent home, my mom and my dad, and they both raised me in a certain manner to always be like strong, independent, you know. And when this was happening, I was too scared to go tell my parents what was happening. And then my dad loves me. Like, I'm his oldest daughter. He raised 4 girls. So it's like, how can I go and tell my dad this without him wanting to react? And I didn't want my dad getting himself in trouble, or maybe even my abuser hurt my dad.
Right.
So, I was afraid to tell someone. And then the embarrassment was because I didn't know how to deal with what I was dealing with. Being that
Right.
I always be a strong individual, I felt like I was weak at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So I was too ashamed to say anything. So that's what allowed me to say.
Yeah. And for me, I feel like I didn't even realize it was abuse until I was out of it, because I'm gonna cuss your ass back out, to be honest. Like, you talking trash to me, I feel like I'm gonna bark back. Like, I don't even see how this is escalating, because I'm going back and forth with you. But it's like, once you remove yourself from like all that toxic stuff, you realize, like, you was actually abusive. Like, this was a lot. So, all right, we get to that part. In between, did you ever get restraining orders?
Oh yes. So I know you're in Atlanta and I'm in New York City. So I just want to elaborate on how the restraining orders work out here. So pretty much when you call the police and you report a domestic report, they would normally only give you a temporarily order protection, which maxes out normally to 30 days. And after you have I think you have to wait for like a court date, then they extend it, things of that nature. So yes, I had I had 4 restraining orders on him. The first one is from the first time when he hit me, not the very first time, but like the first time I actually led in the hospital. I called police. I went down to Safe Horizon. I got a restraining order, and I explained to them, like, I really feel like this is going to lead to where it shouldn't go no further. And they only gave me temporarily order protections. But every time he broke them, they would arrest him and let him back out.
And then what was the time? I think we talked about a time when he did something, you got out, and then what happened? He got out, and then what happened? Like, it was a
So,
specific situation. Mm-hmm.
yeah, so with this specific situation, I had I pretty much called police on him because he came to my house, and when I called the police on him, they arrested him and they let him right back out like 2 or 3 days later. With me having a restraining order. And normally if you break a restraining order, that's an automatic arrest, and I don't know if they have to fight court or whatever the situation is, but they never kept him. They kept letting him out.
Mm-hmm.
So that led to another fight to where I end up in the hospital.
Yeah, and I remember getting a restraining order, but my thing was, for me, he did everything except hit me. And the way the law is, it's like, even though abuse is all these things, if they didn't actually do, it's like they react instead of being proactive. Like, the system to me is made to be reactive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, like, did he do this? Did he knock the phone out your hand? Did he do this? No, but he done kicked in my door. Like, he done high speed chased me and my sister and my child. Like, do we have to die first? Like, what, what's what? So I asked about the restraining orders, because I know sometimes women in those situations, they feel like, what's the point? You know what I mean? Like, what do you say to that? What do you say to that about the restraining order? How important is it?
So I really feel like it is important, but it's like at the same time, to me, I feel like it's just a piece of paper. And why I say that is because I never forget when I first went down to get the restraining order, and this was at the courts. I never forget the lady said to me, "Oh, we only giving you a temporarily order protection because most of y'all go back anyway." So I'm like, I'm actually out here seeking for help, and you make a statement like that to me. So that comes from the embarrassment, and then I started to feel low because I'm like, okay, now I'm actually somewhere where I'm trying to get paperwork to, like how you said, pretty much avoid things from going further than what it led to, and you tell me something like this, and this is another woman telling me this.
Right.
So, I felt like, I really had no help once that statement was made.
Yeah. Okay. So then let's fast forward to that day, like the day before or around that time, and how how it changed your life.
So, like I was saying, I stayed in a shelter for about 3.5 months. With the shelter, like it was a tough situation to already be fully established and to have to run from an individual due to the fact that you keep getting restraining orders, you keep calling police, you keep getting them arrested, and he just would not stop. So I ended up in Far Rockaway, and I decided that the next day I wanted to have like a family gathering because I felt like this was a piece in my life that I finally got over this hump. Like I've been running, I've been working, I've been trying to act like everything was okay, even though it wasn't. And I finally moved into my new apartment. And when I moved into my new apartment, after my family and everyone left, he was there. I froze. I was like, how, with the location that I chose, no one really knows nothing about this. I honestly feel like someone was helping him to find my location because where I was located, no one could actually find me. And I didn't tell anyone because I just moved there not even like 48 hours ago. And I froze in the midst of me, trying to run, like my feet wouldn't move. But then when I seen him coming towards me, that's when I tried to run upstairs. So where this particular situation happened, it was a 2-family house. So it's like maybe about 10 steps before you get to my doorway, and I didn't fully make it to the doorway, and he grabbed me. So now we're fighting outside. My door was open because I was taking the trash out. Then I finally kind of got in my house into the living room. Honestly, God, me and him's fighting, and I remember him pulling out a knife, and from then, like, I don't know what came over me. I just know, like, I blacked out. And then when I came to, I seen blood on me, and I'm like, what the hell? Like, this looks like a crime scene. Like, where did all this blood come from? Not knowing that, I stabbed him because I don't know how I stabbed him. When did I get the knife? When he the one that had the knife? I think I temporarily checked out. So from there, I called the ambulance. Police was saying that DOA, and I'm like, DOA? Like, what are you guys talking about? Dead on arrival. So I'm just telling this story to pretty much bring awareness, like, sometimes you can be scared and act in fear and not really know what you did. And look what ended up happening. I ended up killing my abuser by accident
And we'll
because I was fighting.
rewind for a little bit too, because I remember when we talked, you said when the police got there, what were they saying to you initially?
They did tell me, they was like, oh my God, look at your face. Like, they wanted to aid me, and because I know my vision was blurry. I know that, I did feel pain, but I guess my adrenaline was rushing, so I didn't really know, like, what was happening. And come to find out, like, I had 2 black eyes. I still got the cut on my face. I have makeup on, so you can't really see it now. I had a large slice on my face. I had a cut here. It wasn't like an actual stab wound, but he did put the knife to my neck, so I had a puncture here. I have a big cut here. He had, like, bit me to where, like, my thumb, my whole nail bed came out. Like, he was biting me. He was doing so much to me I didn't realize until after when I got to the hospital and they described and took pictures of all my wounds.
That's so. Every time you tell that story, it just do something to me. So he's dead on arrival.
Yeah.
You at the hospital. Then what?
So when I was at the hospital, they pretty much told me that they had to take me in. And I'm still trying to process, them giving me stitches. They telling me he's gone, because at the end of the day, like, yes, that was my abuser, but who wants somebody to end up dead? you know? So I, I just couldn't process what was happening. So pretty much they took me to Central Bookings in Queens. And when they took me to Central Bookings in Queens, they charged me with murder too.
And so I asked you about this too, but you can explain this to the viewers. So self-defense was you there was no grounds for self-defense.
No, so in New York City, they do not have a self-defense law. So even with the restraining orders, even with me running shelter to shelter, Safe Horizon, I mean, they pretty much did not do anything to help me. So when this happened, I don't know. I just really feel like the system failed
Hmm.
me. I really They put me on murder two and give me a $500,000 bill.
Yeah. And all this time, where were your children?
So my children, gratefully, being that I had like the family gathering the night before, they were with my mom.
Okay. All right. So you end up going to jail
Yeah.
and then going to prison for how long?
So they sent me to Rosensinger, Rikers Island. I was there for 9.5 months. So I went, I believe it was January 15th, because I remember it was Martin Luther King Day, because I was going to go to work to get the overtime, being that I just moved. And which is ironic, I got out on his birthday, October 23rd.
And so how did his family feel some type of way towards you? Like, were you afraid of that? Like, tell me about that.
So honestly, his brother supported me through the whole time, which is crazy. I never forget my mom was telling me that every time they went to court, they would see his family members there. I think it was a bittersweet situation for them because, of course, that brother or nephew or whatever the case may be, of course, they were upset about that, but they knew exactly what he was doing to me. I never forget that his brother had a conversation with me. He was telling me, listen, like, that's my brother and I love him. And even one time they had a physical fight for him defending me, like, stop putting your hands on this girl. Like, what are you doing? She's actually a good girl. Why are you hitting her? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? And he just never listened. So after I was released, I was terrified. I lie to you not. Like, my mom could tell you, like, it took me a while before I went outside because I didn't know if people were looking for me. I didn't know if someone was going to attack me. I was scared of men for a while due to the fact that, I was abused and it led to me hurting someone and not, it had to register that I did hurt someone. It was a lot going through my brain. But at one point, I did actually see his brother. I was walking with my daughter and I froze. And we locked eyes, and I lie to you not, he just grabbed me and hugged me.
No.
And he was like, look, that was my brother. Of course, I'm upset that he's no longer here, but if he didn't do what he did to you, then he would still be here. He was like, just know no one is looking for you. You don't ever have to look over your shoulder anymore. Oh, I'm about to cry.
No.
And that gave me like such a relief. But when I came home, like I was terrified.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to expect, what people thought of me. I didn't know if people was gonna consider me like a murderer. I didn't know what to expect. But when he hugged me and told me like it's okay, that gave me like they gave me peace to move on. Because like I was hurt. I did love him. I'm not gonna lie. It shouldn't have went like that. I should have left. I blame myself for a lot. But it's just when he did that just lifted me up. Like I needed that because I was so scared.
Yeah. Ooh, child. All right. Y'all got your tissue. Okay. I felt that
Mm-hmm.
because it'd be a lot of guilt, and then you don't know. So after all of that transpired, when you look back, besides the temper, what were other signs? What were other warnings? What were other things that might have been said? Like, because I think my goal with even doing stuff like this is to help somebody else. I don't want nobody else. I don't want people to go through this.
Yeah. So The signs that I did see in the beginning is um I never forget. I'm gonna just say this one story. We was getting some food one day, and not getting racial or anything. You know how like Hispanic guys they call people mommy and stuff like that. So I never forget with this particular situation. Like the guy was like, "Okay, what you want to order, mommy?" I was getting some Spanish food. Oh, don't call her that. Who the f is you talking to? And I'm looking. I'm like, it's okay. Like that's like it's the right. I noticed with him like he will always try to keep me away from people. If someone would talk to me, he would jump in front, like what you said to her, and I'm like, I have my own voice, Inside the house, he will always like he had a temper problem out of this world, like how me and you talking right now, and like say I just started crying. The fuck you crying for? Like you all right? What's wrong with you? Like I couldn't have emotions. I couldn't have words. He was like completely trying to control me. So just look for signs like if they're angry all the time, or listening for people to say, I never forget he told me one time, if I can't have you, no one can. So, if you see that this person is just angry with themselves, or even if they're not angry, it can be like a mental thing, like, oh, I don't want you to wear this, I don't want you to do this, or, just look for anything that feels like a red flag to you, it's a red flag.
Right. Let me tell you, feeling is all you need. I used to operate so much so like I had to grow into trusting my gut, right? Like I had to grow into that because if I don't have the fact, then I could be wrong. Like I don't want to always just be assuming. So if I didn't have fact on something, I needed to it wasn't enough for me to feel it. So now, if I feel it, that's all I need. That's it. I don't care. I could be dead wrong. Guess what? I'll be wrong and safe, or I'll be wrong and at peace. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
The anger for sure is a telltale sign. I remember with me. So this thing that I was with was sick, right? And very sick, like really on a deathbed type of sick. And one day I'm talking to his mom, and she's telling me her experience with his father. That
Mm.
sounds extremely abusive. She was telling me how when they were younger, how she tried to get away and blah blah blah. And he came out the room so night all before he had no energy. You weak. You can't even move. But you mustered up enough energy to come out the room screaming and yelling at your mama about because you think she's telling me too much about your father, which it sounded like he was just like him. So did you get any warning signs or anything from the family from him?
So I see a comment when she said, I'm glad you said that because some women be thinking that's love. She's answering your question. So I never forget that I I met his mother maybe a couple months in the relationship. A lot of you not. I went to his mother house. He came there. Her whole energy was off. And I'm a person, I'm very firm on energy. She took her purse. She sat it next to her. And she was like, I don't know what you with him for. And I'm looking like, you his mother. She was like, no, like he stole from me before. He hit me before. I don't trust him. And I'm young. This is like my first real
And
relationship due to
he's much, y'all got to remember, he's much older than her.
older than me.
20
So I'm not
years.
exactly. So I'm not really, taking heed to what's happening and what she's saying.
Mm.
And then another time, they had like a family barbecue. Same situation. She was like, "Oh, I don't know what you with him for. I don't trust him." She's telling me stuff because his mother had a stroke. So one of her left side, I believe it was, it is not working right. So she couldn't really move too well. And when he come around, she was moving. um, I keep my purse away. I let
Yeah,
my
yeah.
house. She told me that he hit her before. So me, I should have took heed to that. I really should. But you know, when you first meet someone, everything is all green, and you know, you're thinking everything is good, and it wasn't. So that was a major sign that I feel like I should have considered and really thought, like, okay, if a man can mistreat his mom,
Mm,
then who the hell am I?
exactly. And I remember one time his brother told me we had like an argument or whatever, and I was talking to his brother because I'm like, I'm about to leave him for dead because at that point too, I didn't want to, I had a healthcare background too. So at the end of the day, I'm still very compassionate. I have a lot of compassion, which was mistaken for love too. Like I care about you, but I don't like you. I don't like you. But it's just like, okay, if I leave you alone, you're not going to be okay health wise. Because right now I'm your advocate, but like you really trying it. So one day I'm talking to his brother, like, okay, this is what your brother doing. What's what? He was like, yeah, he got a lot of demons. He got a lot of my father's ways. First, demons, like that should have really been a red flag to me too. But my thing used to be also where you can't tell, I like kind of not rationalizing it, but because I was younger too. He wasn't that much older than me. He was like 8 years older than me, but I was still like in my 20s, and I used to think, well, you can't tell how mad somebody can get. Like, even though this is all small little petty stuff to me, maybe he's really offended by this. You know what I'm saying? So it in my mind, that verbal abuse started by me just saying like, okay, well, I'm gonna talk my trash back, but it's okay that he getting that upset by that. So let's fast forward to
Because I knew the tears was gonna come.
I should have had mine. um so what was life like in prison?
Whew. I mean, I can honestly say I felt like, and hear me when I say this, it was the worst time of my life, but mentally the best. Now, let me say why. It was the worst time of my life due to the fact everything was stripped and taken away from me. You know, as a person, you're like, you're on a schedule. You get up, if you have children, you got to get them ready for school. You gotta, you're on a schedule. Why I say it was okay mentally for me, and y'all might not understand, but it was like, for that moment, I wasn't a mom, I wasn't a girlfriend, I wasn't a nurse, I had time to sit and think for Quana. You know, on the outside world, you don't really have that time to sit and think because you have to work a job, or, you have to do things that, a normal person would do, day to day. So it was terrible because it was disgusting. Me being a person who never actually committed a crime, when I had to go to court, I had to be cuffed and shackled. They had terrible food. They actually had women in there that was actual criminals. So I had to like readjust my brain to actually be there. And then mentally, it broke me down as well because I'm an active mom. I have 4 children. So me being taken away from them, my heart and my mind was like, I don't know how to deal with this. At the same time, it gave me time to think, okay, now that I'm not with them, this is what I have to do when I go in the outside world. This is what I have to do to become a better mom. This is what I have to do to not put myself in a situation like this to get in here. It made me understand how that was, and it made me understand like how I had to become a better person on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
It would make perfect sense. If if you can follow this comparison, it made me think of this. I remember when I was in anesthesia school, dead broke. I ain't had no money. I remember I was stuck at the gas station one time looking for change in the seats because my financial aid money hadn't hit, and I needed to get back home so I can get back up to go back to the hospital for my rotation, but I couldn't pay my car note. And I remember thinking, like, I keep trying to hang on, hang on. And I just remember thinking one day, I'm gonna just let it go. Like if I just let it go, I don't have to worry about it. Like sometimes when you're trying to control and juggle so many things at one time, it's so stressful.
Yeah.
But I had got to the point like, okay, well if I let that go, that's something I ain't got to worry about. I'll just catch the bus to, I don't have to worry about trying to pay for it. Now I don't have to worry about car insurance, and I'll just catch the bus to school, like, or do something else. So when you said you didn't have to think about something, and it was like it almost made me think it was a little bit of peace there, because now you're trying to redefine who you're going to be, what you're going to be. You have a time to think, like you said. So that made perfect sense. So legal wise, what got you acquitted? What happened with that?
All right. So I remember that when they first took me in the central bookings, I guess it's like night court. I guess that's what you call it. They kept wanting me to sign some document. I don't know what it is, but I didn't sign it. And I never forget when I was able to retain my lawyer, because in total I believe everything was like 20,000, 10 just to retain him, and then all the other court and legal fees and stuff. My lawyer asked me that. He was like, did you sign, the document? And I'm like, no. So he's like, okay, good. He's like, so what we're going to do, being that we know that you have these hospital documents, all these restraining orders, all the paper trail that I had, he said, I'm taking you to grand jury. And for me, being in jail, because that's another thing that I did while I was in there, not to double back, I stayed in the law library, trying to understand like what my case was, how I can get out, and try to understand the criminal system, because I never was arrested, so I didn't understand anything. So going back to what my lawyer was saying, he said, I'm going to take you to grand jury. Grand jury is pretty much when they have, I believe it's like 2 or 3 days, if I'm remembering correctly, where they have jurors sit, listen to the case. They present, the other party present everything that they need to present, my lawyer present, and then they tell me guilty or not. If you're not guilty, then you walk. If you're guilty, then you go back to court and they let you know what your time is. So pretty much, once the jurors, a lot of you, not from what I remember, it was mostly women.
Somebody got a question. They said, did you get sentenced to 9 months, or is that how long it took to go to grand jury?
So that's how long I had to sit. Why? Because I had to get the funds to get a lawyer, and then me and my family was very particular about the lawyer that we was going to retain, because I knew it was a serious situation, and I wanted to make sure the lawyer would help me for my situation, because I did have a lot of lawyers come to me, what they call them, like counsel visits, trying to take my case, but I didn't want them. I wanted a specific person, due to the fact that I knew this is what they handle, and I knew they was going to do what they handled correctly. So 9.5 months was what it took for me waiting.
Okay, so the juror was what, women and men?
Yeah, so it was mostly women, and they pretty much let me tell my story, and a lot of you not, after I told my story, I thought I lost. They took me all the way back to Rikers Island, and I called my mom. I'm crying. I'm like, I'm never gonna get out of here, And she was like, "What do you mean? We're waiting for you. Like, they said you're acquitted of all charges." And I'm like, "What?"
Oh.
Like, no, we're waiting at the courts for you. They put me
Why
back.
did you think you lost? Why?
Put me back on the last bus to go home.
Oh.
So I'm thinking, because the last bus is like, leave at 6 p.m. So once they put me back on the bus, I'm thinking I lost, because my lawyer was like, oh, tonight you are going home. And they put me back on the bus to go back.
Oh.
So I'm thinking like, oh my God. So I lost. And then I called my mom, and she's like, no, like, we're waiting for you at the court building, back to jail. And then after, they end up releasing me.
Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
So tell the people what you're doing now, where you're working now, what you're working on now, what you want to tell anybody going through this, tell your thing.
So again, just for the people who might be currently going through this, for the people who feel that it can be verbal abuse or whatever type of abuse that you may be going through. please don't be an individual like me. And I'm only saying this because I went through it and I lived it. Speak to somebody, get some help, call Safe Horizon. If you feel that you need to call the police or anything that you need to do to get out that situation, run, because I'm an individual who actually lived through it. Mentally, I'm okay now. It took a lot for me to get to where I'm at now. And you don't want to feel how I felt being abused and then having to live a life as considering am I a murderer or whatever the media have put out there. So just please just seek help. What I'm doing now, I'm still currently in the medical field. I am in pain management right now. But what I want to pursue, which is my passion, I want to continue my writing. I am a writer. I have a book that I'm currently working on. It's going to be called I'm Still Standing, about my story. When that will be published, I will let you guys know. I'm also working on a project with you. And I do have a book that should be out next month. This is just, an urban fictional tale. It's called Mia, Queen of the Game. That will be released by the end of the month as well.
Okay. That's amazing. So if anybody have questions, I think, was somebody trying to join the live? Because y'all, I'm open to, Sean, were you joining the live?
But,
I seen a request to join.
oh, and I also want to shout out, I see Pop 357. He was actually someone that was like a counselor where I was at, and I appreciate all your
Do
help.
he want to join? Because he been talking, he been saying a lot. Do he want to
Do you
join?
want to join?
I'm gonna, if he do, tell him to stay on. I'm about to let my life coach join real quick.
Okay.
Let me see.
7, would you like to join?
I'm hitting accept, but it ain't saying that. Oh, so it says Sean. Hi, Sean.
Oh my
Hi.
God.
This is Sean. It's my life coach here.
How long I've been trying to talk to this man?
But you got the other version of me. She's the host, so you got a better version right now. I just want to say I'm proud of you for your diligence and your vulnerability to tell your story and to connect with another woman who has walked the path of abuse, mental abuse, but who is also vulnerable and real. Many
Yeah.
women long to look to women as you both are, who don't really know how to tell their story, right? They think they can tell a girlfriend, but they don't know how the girlfriend's going to judge them. So I applaud both of you tonight for this open space in this sacred space. Keep telling your story.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sean. I'm gonna see if I can get your friend on. Let's see. I don't know how to hang it. I'm not good at lives. I don't know
It's
how to
quite all
hang
right. It's okay. It's okay.
it. Let me see.
I think you can add a couple people if I'm not
Yeah, let
mistaken.
me but I don't think I follow him, so or
Uh,
that's the problem. Are you able to add him?
Oh, she's another. I don't know who it is. There's somebody else. You with.
no, because this is your live. That's why.
Tell him to. Hmm.
Maybe follow him and then is that how? I'm not
I
sure.
don't even know. Let me see. But he can send a request and I can accept it.
Correct.
So
He,
send
Right.
a request. And
let
I
me.
did see your comments. Everyone saying I thank you all for telling me how strong I am, and and thank you all for listening to my story as well. It's hard. It was about 7 years ago, but I'm now able to speak on it. So I thank you all for listening.
Okay.
Oh,
Absolutely.
there
Hi.
Very
Hi. Thank you for
What's going
joining
on?
the
What's up,
live.
Shaquana? What's going
Yes.
so
on?
you can tell I didn't know if you wanted your identity, but you can go
Yeah, yeah,
ahead.
yeah. Like, I've known Shaquana. I used to work for Safe Horizon where she was, and one of the things that stood out about her while she was there, she was about her business with school. She worked. We watched her daughter. Me and her daughter, like, that was my little best friend right there. And when she got out, we heard the story when we first heard the story in the facility, like all the staff was crying, and it was just a sad day. But then when she got out, and I think I found on social media we was chopping it up, and she was like, "Well, I know you heard the story, and I only heard what was in the paper." And she told me the whole story, and I was blown away. Like, I'm a photographer, and at that time, we were trying to do what you're doing now, do a docu-story on her. But some things happened, and Shaquan, I got to talk to you about that offline. But, her story is amazing. So it was good for me to hear it today, because I remember, and it's funny, the same questions you were asking her, I was asking the same question. How was it in jail? And what happened? Like, she was telling me. So, and I always told, like I put in the comments, like, she said, I want to write a book and I want to do a documentary. And I was like, your story is so empowering to other people in this situation. People just don't understand how empowering it is to hear that someone was in an abusive situation and they got out,
Yeah.
right? That gives them hope, right? I support all types of awarenesses. My number one awareness on this planet is domestic violence awareness, right? I know October is DV Awareness Month. I post stuff on my page. I try to get people to wear purple. You know what I'm saying? Like, just tell your story. And I also push, I tell her story so much to people, right? Like, I tell her story, and I have tons of stories. I worked in the field of domestic violence collectively for 14 years. But Shaquana's story is like up there with me. You know what I'm saying? So I want to see her continue to do great things, be on these platforms like you're giving her, start her own platform, write that book, do that documentary, do a movie. I don't care. Call Tyler Perry. I don't care who you got to call, right? Get your story out there.
Yeah.
And the second thing I want to say is I want people to start pushing her story or pushing stories of those who have been abused, women and men, right? Because abuse is across every boundary. It doesn't care if you gay, straight, black, white, tall. It doesn't matter. Abuse is abuse is abuse. You know what I'm saying? So I'm proud of you. I know we haven't conversed in a minute, but we will. But I want you to keep pushing, and I thank her for giving you this
I have
platform.
a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
What is what would you say to as a man? Because the reality of it is, it's true. Men get abused as well, but it's more common for the woman to be abused, right?
Right.
Um, I'm not saying by who starts it either, because that's a whole
No,
other
no, no.
thing.
I
We can
got
get
you.
in the whole situation of what if they get in their face, no, no, no. I'm not saying that. But what do you say to men abusers? What would you say to men abusers? Like,
Mm.
is it stuff that sometimes that men could go through? Does it have anything to do with mental health? Because at the end of the day, I still feel like everybody needs healing. Like, by no means am I giving you no pass and excuse, because it is what it is. But the problem has to get fixed. Like, even throwing them in jail or whatever, that's not fixing it, especially if their kids are seeing it. If it starts as a young age and they're seeing different things. So do you have any advice for abusers?
So you also have to remember, where does it start? Most of it is learned behavior, right? It's generational, right? We live in 2024. It's not the same as 1920, right? Where the thought process of abuse was different, right? You have some men who feel that's my property, so I can do and I can say X, Y, and Z. Back then, and I'm just using that date as as a small reference, something happens, police come, police show up. Hey, my man, take a walk around the block, right? And then, try to get her to calm down. Sometimes they blaming her. Hey, well, maybe if you don't do this, maybe if you don't do that. He may have saw his grandfather do that to his grandmother. Then his father did it to her mother. So he feels this is the way you deal with women or a partner. And I'm just going to use women because we're talking about this is how you do it. If she get out of line, you do this. She can't go nowhere. You have the right to tell her where to go, what to wear, who to see, so forth and so on. Because that comes from learned behavior.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying? So we have to break that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So fathers, men now have to teach their sons of present day, that's not how you treat women. right? And we also have to know, men have to know our rule, our number one rule is to walk away from that. Sometimes it takes a stronger man to walk away from that type of relationship because he don't know himself, right? He don't know where he can go. So he's got to be like, you know what? This ain't for me because everybody ain't meant to be with everybody. We know this. Everybody's not compatible, you know, but those abusers know who they are, right? They know the art of manipulation. They know power and control. They know isolation. They know all of those different dynamics. So what I would tell those abusers is, well, I can't even say that because once they are the abuser, you can't get through them. They're already conditioned to believe this is how I treat my partner. It could be heterosexual, it could be same-sex relationships. One feels they have more power and control over the other and uses that in an abusive manner.
Mm-hmm.
That's power. That's the definition of domestic violence. So it's hard to tell someone who's an abuser and it's already ingrained that this is what I'm gonna do and nobody can tell me what to do, and they believe this is how a man is supposed to be, and that's not what defines a man, right? Those attributes don't define you as a man. Putting your hands on the woman, and I want to be clear, I'm not talking self-defense. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking power and control, right? There is a difference. So he can't feel like, hey, this is the right thing to do. But where did he get it from? Learned behavior. Whether
Mm-hmm.
it's in his family, sitting in the barbershop, talking to his boys, right? They have that common thought because men are men are here, but women are here, right? But men don't like to see women here, right? So they'll do anything to bring you to their level, to
Mm-hmm.
address you.
Humble you. I feel like it's a humbling. Like they want to make sure they, when they are an abuser, not all men are not like this at all, but the
Correct.
ones who want to have that control and power, if they see you excelling, like when she said when she was going to school, and we talked about that, when he found
Mm-hmm.
out she had signed up for school, he got more upset
Right.
because it makes them look at themselves and where they are in life, and they're like, oh, you finna surpass me, whatever that looks like.
Mm-hmm.
What, so they want to humble you. And I feel like a lot of times in order to humble somebody, you want to strip that, like embarrass them, control them, and strip them of their power, however that looks. Sometimes it may not be hitting on them, it may be cheating, which is a whole nother conversation. But I feel like those are ways to humble your partner. Like, don't think you on this pedestal that you can't be humble. So I appreciate this conversation. Somebody said it doesn't mean, yes, and it's also important that women stop seeing men controlling them as love. It doesn't mean he loves you and care about you because he's telling you what you can and cannot do. Let him know you are not his property. All behavior is learned and some learn to accept abuse. True. Well, I think, Shawnee, anything you want to say before we close out? Shaquana?
I think you guys have done an amazing job tonight. I think there should be a part
Oh,
two. I think you
Uh,
guys, there really needs to be a part
and a
two the
part
whole time.
three
You
and a
were
part
just
four.
getting in the thick of it. So I think a part two, and you're very timely. You're coached well. So I think a part two should be in conversation.
okay. Shaquana, anything you want to say before we close?
Again, I just want to thank you all for listening. And like I said earlier, if anyone feel like they might be going through a situation like this, reach out to Safe Horizon. There's so much help out there that you can get. Marie, I thank you for even allowing me to share my story on your platform.
Of course, of
For
course.
listening, and Pop, I appreciate you speaking your version of actually know,
Yeah.
person to
Right.
person.
Right.
So I
Right.
everyone, thank you.
Absolutely.
Yes. Thank y'all so
You're
much.
welcome.
I'm going to save this and put it on my page, and you
And,
guys have a great night.
all right,
All right.
All
and,
righty.
Shaquan, I'm gonna send you my info. We're gonna talk.
okay,
All right.
we'll do.